I feel guilty about something. I did something today, and I really feel guilty about it. In my defense, I did not know it was a guy until he turned around. I was staring at this girl walking across the parking lot, and then turned around and it was a guy. But you know what? I can appreciate a guy that works out.
Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all.
Guys just shouldn't have long hair. That's all I can say. It's entrapment. It's entrapment. It's like getting pulled over by an unmarked cop car. It's entrapment. No, I'm joking with you folks, but there is seriously something that I did today that I do feel guilty about. And that is, I called a company about a job. Actually, I texted this company about a job. And the reason I feel guilty about it is because there's nothing wrong with the company that I work for. I have not yet had really anything bad to say about them. I mean, they're just like any other company out here. They're just trying to get by in this downturn economy. I guess the only negatives that I have about it is on Sunday, I usually leave out Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, and I have an hour and a half commute to go to work, drop my pickup truck off there, and then it's an hour and a half commute back, of course, on Friday when I get off work. I get the weekends off. This Labor Day weekend, I think I had 4 days off, 4 full days off. And one of those days will be paid because it's a paid holiday. I mean, I don't really have that many gripes about this company. It pays decent. The other thing I guess I could say negative is they do run Chicago and they do run Atlanta. I really don't like those towns, but what I have found out in the past is if you find a company where you don't run Atlanta and you don't run Chicago, you run Dallas. Dallas is just as bad, if not worse, than Atlanta. So, it's a give and take. I've said this before. You'll never find the perfect company. Never. What I really, really want to go back to is being an owner-operator and booking my own loads. That's what I'm comfortable with. I found out that I love that. I love the freedom of that, to where I can go where I want to go. I can pick the loads that I want to pick. It's not working for a company like Landstar where you use their load board. That's a difference that a lot of people get confused is, oh, well, I work for Landstar. I book my own loads. You're booking a Landstar load that has already been pre-booked. It's totally different. Totally different. I'm talking about just being in a truck with a trailer that's empty and you have to go out and kill something and bring it home. I mean, you're cold calling. You're trying to find a load. You're trying to find your way through the madness, That's what I really like. That's what I really like to do. I just want to be my own boss. What would really work perfectly for me is if I was a full independent. That really would work out great for me. My wife and I looked into it. There's so much expense involved. There's so much legal stuff involved in it. The insurance is going up constantly. The government and corporations don't want independence. They really don't. Now, I'm not saying that you can't survive as an independent, but it's hard. And for you guys out there that are full independents, man, I mean, if I'm jealous of anybody, it's a full independent that is here in this country legally. I want to stress that because I made one subscriber mad. He was gloating and going on about him being an independent and all this. And I said, are you here legally? Did you really do this 100% on your own? And he clammed up and he didn't really want to talk about it. He acted all defensive and offended and everything. And I said, okay, well, here's the thing. If you're here in this country legally, you're 100% independent. United States has made you the greatest thing that you could ever possibly be. Then join me and put down all of these illegals and immigrants that are out here that are just making life miserable for the rest of us. And he backtracked on that. Well, that's the government, and the government wants to allow that. And I said, no. No, you need to join me in my fight and push back on this. And he refused. He was like, nope, I'm not doing that. So, that tells me a lot. That tells me a lot right there. That tells me that this guy is hiding something. He's not wanting to tell the truth about something. Something's going on there that he doesn't want disclosure on. And that's how I feel about it. But getting back to this thing that I feel guilty about, I texted this guy, and he is an owner-operator. And I don't know if he's an independent. I don't know if he's leased onto someone. I don't know anything about him. But his ad said that he did 70% dropping hooks, that, he needed somebody that was willing to run. And he also offered a glider kit, Freightliner, I guess a pre-ELD glider kit Freightliner. I believe it said in the ad that it was a Fitzgerald's glider kit. I might be wrong about that, but I think I read that in the ad. The only thing about him, also he said you could take the truck home. As long as you've got a safe place to park it, you can take it home. Well, there's a truck stop not even a half a mile from my house, so I would be able to keep eyes on it all the time whenever I was home, and it's definitely a safe place. So with that being said, it's something that piques my interest, I'll be honest. And the drawback with him is the fact that the pay rate that he had on there wasn't that great, So see, that's what I'm saying about trucking companies. There's a give and a take. You will never find a company where you make like $1 a mile as a company driver. You can take the truck home. You can take off as much time as you want. You can work when you want. You have full benefits. You can run your company truck as an owner operator. You can pick and choose your own loads. You will never find that. Ever. Not as a company driver. As an owner operator, 90%, I would say 90% of the jobs out in the United States that are owner operator jobs, you will have a dispatcher. I mean, you're a glorified company driver. And I'm sorry that offends people. That's where I had the misconception whenever I first became an owner operator. I thought it meant you just do whatever you wanted to do, however you wanted to do it. You just walked in and say, hey, I want a load going to St. Louis. And then when I get done with St. Louis, I'll take one over to Indianapolis and then I'll come home. I really thought that. You can laugh at me and say, well, man, how did you get so naive? Well, I thought it meant you had the freedoms, because all of the ads back then when I first became an owner operator, it would say no force dispatch, right? No force dispatch, choose the loads that you want. I would see ads like that all the time. So I thought, I didn't really look into it a lot, and I thought, well, that's what it meant. You get your own truck, you take off and do your own thing. So You pick and choose your home time, you pick and choose your loads, and you do what you want to do. Man, I tell you, I was rudely awakened. I was rudely awakened because the first, I'd say, 3 owner operator jobs that I had, it was exactly like a company driving job. Exactly. There was no difference in it whatsoever. You started when they told you to start. You showed up at the office Monday morning, whether you were ready to go to work or not. They would say, be at the office 8 o'clock Monday morning. Why? Why do I need to be in the office at 8 o'clock Monday morning? Well, so we can start dispatching trucks out. And I was like, I don't see the point. What do you mean? I'm an owner-operator. I should be able to pick and choose and tell you what I want to do. It doesn't work like that, folks. If you're thinking about switching from company driving to owner-operator, it doesn't work like that. Now, these companies out here that are offering load board jobs, one is that, what do they call that? Easy Go or something like that up in Chicago. Whatever that company is. I don't really pay attention to companies up in Chicago, but there's one that, has got the big GO on the side of it. I called them one time and they were like that, we'll give you an app to download on your phone and you pick the loads. And I said, are you talking about DAT or Truck Stop? Oh, no, it's our load board. Your load board? And people don't get that. Whenever you work for a company, and specifically this is what everybody thinks of, is Landstar. Landstar does that. They will give you a sign-on to where you can go on to Landstar's load board. All of those loads have been pre-booked, set up by Landstar. Some are dropping hooks. You'll pull into a yard and there'll be a yard full of Landstar trailers because that is one of their customers. And when you book that load off of the load board, that's the crazy thing that I didn't like about Landstar way, way back. I excluded them years and years and years ago because they have this funky math thing that they do. It's like you get 69% of 66%, and this agent takes more than this agent does. And I'm like, I'm not messing with that. You tell me how much the load pays and you tell me how much percent comes out of my settlement and we'll be done. And they said, no. Well, can I book another load, off of that or load board 123, is a free one, and something like this. And I forget what they say. Maybe they said I could under certain circumstances or something, but mainly you needed to use the app or whatever. And I threw Landstar away a long time ago, and it's not a thing for me. This last owner operator company I work for, I keep saying I'm going to do a review on them, but I haven't as of yet. But this company was 100% driver dispatch. They had no loads themselves, none. They had no customers, none, zero. And so many guys would get it wrong. They would call up, or they would go down there, or they would ask me in a parking lot. I heard this constantly over and over. Well, where does the company run to? And I'd say they run wherever you want them to run to. Well, why are you being argumentative? I'm not being argumentative. What do you not get about self-dispatched? You are the dispatcher. This company didn't even have dispatchers. They had something like a load coordinator, somebody to sign your rate sheet and put it on a a thing on their computer where they could enter it in, and if you had any questions or forgot the broker's number or something, they could give you information. But they didn't do anything with the load. It was you. You were doing your own thing. There was some stuff about that company we tied up a couple of times because they wanted to pick and choose what they wanted to do and what they didn't want to do. And, one of their main things is you don't piss a broker off. No matter what, you don't piss a broker off. You cave to that broker every time. And that's something that I didn't agree with. If a broker was screwing me over, and it was a really bad situation, I would tear into the broker, and they would say, no, you can't do that. You gotta cater to the broker. If they blacklist us or whatever the term is, they exclude us and and shut us down from booking loads. That's not going to do any good for anybody, right? Well, there's a lot of more stuff that I can add to that as well when I get to the point of doing the review for that company. But overall, 95% of that company was great, because you did your own thing. You went home when you wanted to. You worked when you wanted to. It was as close to being an independent as I've ever gotten. I mean, it really was. It was as close to that as I've ever gotten. And, I guess I'm just talking this out in my head because that's what I really, really want to go back to. That's what my direction is. I want to get my truck, my owner-operator truck, repaired. I want to get it fixed right to where it's as close to perfect as I can get, where it's very dependable. And I want to go back to booking my own loads. I do. There's a company in Tennessee that I've got my eyes on that I would like to go lease on with them. The thing about this guy that I texted and talked to today, I was thinking maybe there's an open door there. Maybe there's an open door there to where I could start out with him driving his truck, and then on my home time work on my truck, and maybe I can lease it on with that company. I don't know. I would just have to hear the ins and outs of how he works and what he expects to do, what he's expecting, as far as working and staying home, and how flexible he is and all of that stuff. I would have to go through all of that. In the end, I guess this is a little bit shorter video than I usually do because I guess I've run my course talking about this, but I just want you to know, in the end, what really matters is what makes you happy. That's what really makes it. If you want to work for a mega carrier and stay out 3 months at a time, and that's your thing, I guess, I guess. I can't see it myself. I mean, I can't see it. I want to have it to where there's a trade-off between work and home time. If I wanted to live in a truck, I would go home and I'd talk to my wife and I'd say, look, it's great having a house. It's great us being together and everything. But I want to give it all up. I want to live on the truck and I want to live by myself. I don't want to do that. That's not me. That's not the thing I want to do. I like having weekends off, even though I'm tired a lot and I run a lot and it's hard getting done with everything to be home on the weekend. What would really suck is if I was like that and I couldn't get home on the weekend. I was out on the truck on the weekends too. That would really suck to me. And the other thing I want to say is, don't feel guilty about bettering yourself. If you are in a situation like I said with this company here, I really don't have anything to gripe about. I really don't have anything to complain about. They're good to me. They don't really mouth off at me. They don't really have anything really bad to say to me. I don't think that they're trying to screw me over or get a leg up on me, or whatever term you want to use. I don't think they're trying to misrepresent themselves to where they're using me. I don't think that. And I have been with companies that I did feel that way about. At the end of the day, when you get down to it, look at it this way. If you're happy with where you're at and you're happy with what you're doing, and say you're bringing home a consistent $1,500 a week, and the only thing that matters to you is you want to make more money, and you find a company over here that will pay you a consistent $2,000 a week, and you can handle what they're throwing at you to get that $2,000 a week, go for it. I mean, go for it. Do it. You know, I would suggest that you don't make the company mad that you left. Just have a talk with them and say, I'm wanting to better myself. I found this place over here. I think I'm going to better myself going over here. If I don't, and if I'm making a mistake, is there a chance, is there a possibility of me coming back? If they blow up and they get mad and say, you leave here, you can guarantee you will never come back here again. I mean, that tells you a little bit about that company, right? You know what I'm saying? That tells you a little bit about them. You can find their flaws, and you can find their weaknesses. You can find their skeletons in their closet, if you want to say it that way. My thing is, I have quit so many jobs on principles before. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with that, is I would just have a conversation with my supervisor, or, the owner of the company, whomever was, above me in that position. And I would just talk to them and say, I want to do this. This is what I don't like to do. I want to do this. And they would just blow me off, and just keep going. And I would voice my concern again, and they would blow me off, and it just keep going. And finally, I get to the point with me, the way that I work in my brain, after about 3 or 4 times of saying something like that, and I'm conveying it to you, this bothers me, and you ignore me. If you're a supervisor or something, the owner of the company, that's where I put my foot down and say, look, I've told you this 3 or 4 times. You've blown me off. You haven't listened to me. Obviously, I'm not important to you. We're just going to part ways. And I have done that without even knowing where I'm going next. And learn from me. Learn from my ignorance, I guess. If you get to that point where you feel like that stress is building up in you like that, just look for a way out. Don't work on your emotions. Don't work on your anger. Work on having an outlet to go to. Talk to people. Start sharing your ideas and thoughts and everything, and bounce it off of other people. Communicating with other people is taken for granted so many times, but it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. Maybe they can help you look at something else and say, well, you're griping at your situation, but look what I have to deal with. And then you think, oh, wow, that's not really that bad for me. And I'm telling you, I've been through this so many times, 20 something years of truck driving. This company here, it gets aggravating at times. Going to Chicago, going to Atlanta, doing the things that they want me to do. It gets aggravating, but I know they're not doing it on purpose for nefarious reasons. You know, they're just trying to get through the day. They're trying to get through the week. And I don't think they're singling me out to try to piss me off or whatever. I don't think that's what's going on. And that's something as truck drivers we tend to forget about because we have so much time, so much windshield time, and so much alone time that a lot of that stuff will just sit and fester in our head, and we will convince ourselves, you know, everyone's out to get us. You know, we're like Richard Nixon was. I heard he was like that, you know. He was paranoid to the core that everyone was trying to get him, when really it was him that was doing it to himself, right? So just a bit of advice, just helpful advice for you, and I'm talking this through myself. I'm not just going to quit this job and jump to the other job just because. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk to the guy. If he calls me back, like I said, I just texted him. I'll talk to him, you know, and throw the ins and outs out there, tell him what I would like to do, what I won't do, what I will do. I'll tell him probably that his pay is low because I'm just a blunt person like that. And I'll say, you know, that pay was good probably the earlier 2000s, you know, 2005 to 7, that pay was all right. But we're in 2024. I know it's hard for everyone. Everyone's trying to struggle and get by, but that type of pay that you're throwing out there, that ship sailed, buddy. That ship has sailed. And you would have to offer something just overwhelming to get me to go to work for that type of money. So that's one big drawback about him. I don't have to have the glider kit truck. Maybe that's what he's trying to throw out there as an incentive for somebody to work for him. Well, you'll be driving a glider kit truck, you know, and it's got a 10-speed, but he also said in the ad that it's got a governor on it. My truck, or this is not my truck, but this company truck that I'm driving goes faster than that glider kit does. So what if I got a pretty truck, it's slow, you know? That's not impressive to me. Now, if he had it clocked up there to 80 miles an hour, I might say, yeah, that might be okay now. And maybe he's willing to. Maybe he's willing to bump it up to 80. Maybe he's willing to bump the pay up for a better driver. I don't know. The thing that I'm trying to get at with this whole spew that I'm throwing out here, don't hold yourself back. But don't be paranoid thinking that someone is trying to throw you under the bus just because you're doing something that you don't like. There's a thin line between, you know, self-destruction and paranoia and just thinking that you've got it bad. So, anyway, I'm going to get off of here. Oh, look, there's a guy Never mind. Hey, that is a girl. I'll be right back. I'm just joking. My wife's watching this video. You guys have a good day.